Facebook live, but I'm thankful for you joining us on tonight. Just to let you know, we will have Bible study for the next 4 weeks. All right, we will have Bible study for the next 4 weeks, and then we will be taking time off after that to be dealing with our time of consecration and other things like that. All right, so we're going to be looking at and finishing up the series that's entitled, What's the Plan? All right, the series has been entitled, What's the Plan? All right. And today we're starting and looking at the second lesson, which is entitled Pick Up the Pieces. All right. The title of the second lesson is Pick Up the Pieces. We will be coming from Matthew chapter number 25, verses 14 through 16. Again, that is Matthew chapter number 25, verses 14 through 16. All right, and it's going to come up on the screen, but I'm also going to read it to you. And it reads on this wise: For the kingdom of heaven is as a man traveling into a far country, who called his own servants and delivered unto them his goods. Verse 15, and unto one he gave 5 talents, to another 2, and to another 1, to every man according to his several ability, and straightway took his journey. Verse 16, then he that had received the 5 talents went and traded with the same and made them other 5 talents. All right. So let me read that last part one more time, verse 16. And it states, then he that had received the 5 talents went and traded with the same and made them another, or made other 5 talents. Meaning he made money off of the money that he received. That's what he did. He didn't just take it and do whatever he wanted with it, or just, happenstance and, just put it away, whatever. No, he actually took what he had and he made money off of it. He doubled what he had. All right. And so with that, keep that in mind. All right. Keep that in mind, because like we have been doing for the past several months, actually for the past year or so, or longer, we are going to start off with some questions. All right. And I want you to dive on in, come off of mute. All right. Or write your answers in on YouTube. All right. And let's look at these questions. Don't just answer them spiritually or physically. All right. But look at it and delve into the question on a spiritual level also. All right. So with that much being stated and that much of an introduction, the first question is this. All right. And I just want to get our brains going so that we can get this conversation and kind of bless ourselves, but also bless some people. The first question is this. Give a good reason why we hold on to stuff that we know we are not going to use. All right. Let me read the question again. Give a good reason why we hold on to stuff that we know we are not going to use. And like I stated, don't just look at it at the physical, but also look at it in the spiritual. Why do we hold on to stuff that we know, all right, we know that we are not going to use? Somebody come on off of mute. How many of us have a closet full of stuff?
We sometimes think that we're going to use them, or we can get back into it, or we convince ourselves that it will be used one day. We can repurpose it. We can figure out a way to use it, and we won't ever use it. So we just hold on to it because it may have some sentimental value to us, or we just like to see it in our closet, knowing that we'll never use it, but it's there. And if we ever need it, we can go in there and get it. Sometimes we hold on to things because it makes us feel like we have a lot. Even if we don't use it, it's just a lot of stuff there. So it looks like we have some value.
Okay.
So,
all right. Someone else?
I was just going to say it's familiar to us.
Okay, it's familiar to us. All right. Someone else?
I was going to say sentimental value.
Go ahead.
Sentimental value, maybe someone gave it to you that's no longer here. Because you're saying something that we absolutely know we're not going to use.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe sentimental value.
Okay.
That.
Okay, because yeah, I have like a 46, 45, something like that year-old blanket in my closet. It was a blanket that was knitted by my Aunt Wendy when I was first, I believe when I was first born, or when I was knee-high to a grasshopper. She knitted the blanket for me, and I've had it ever since. Never gotten rid of it. Someone
Fear
else?
of losing
I was
it.
going to say,
Okay, fear of losing it.
okay, I was going to say, some people love the idea of it being mine. We learned that at an early age, probably like the age of 1 or something, mine. And it sounds good, you know, it makes us feel good no matter what it is, whether it's spiritual. Because sometimes some people have the most powerful voice or the most anointed voice, but won't nobody know it because they hold it in. So
Oh,
I'll just use it like that. And
wow.
stop right there.
That's good. That's good. That's good. Deacon Williams put online on YouTube, he said, hold because we paid for it. We'll hold on to it because we paid for it. So we ain't gonna let it go no matter what it is. All right. Someone else. Because I like that one, Latrice. Got an anointed voice, got a powerful voice, but we hold it back. We hold it down. We don't use it. All right. Someone else.
Some of us don't have no good reason. Sometimes we just simply, we don't want to be truthful with ourselves and just say we are hoarders. We hoard everything that we get. Sometimes it comes up from our childhood where we wasn't able to get something from our parents. So now that we're able to do it for ourselves, we continue to get. And if you flip that thing still in the spiritual aspect of it, we are hoarders. Just because you have the ability and the gift to do something, it doesn't mean that you should do it. You are not the only person with a gift. God gave gifts to many people, but some of us are so much of a hoarders, sometimes we'll believe that something ain't done right if we don't do it. Or something won't get done if we don't do it. So we'll find ourselves doing so much stuff and then be complaining while we're so tired and burnt out.
Yeah. All right, someone else?
Sometimes I think it has to do with your childhood, how you was brought up. Some people was brought up and they really couldn't get stuff for themselves. Or, you know, the parent couldn't get stuff, but now they are an adult now and they're where they can buy and not even worry about it. So when they look around, they done bought so much, but being that they done bought it, I'll find a use for it someday, you know, and they can't bear to get rid of it. You know, sometimes it's just, it depends on your childhood.
Yeah. Because I was gonna say the simple fact of, you know, it's just you and your husband, and you gotta, let me exaggerate all the way out there. It's just you and your husband, and you got a 12-bedroom house. And you know good and well you don't need no 12 bedrooms, and y'all not having any kids, and you're not having any grandkids, and you're not even having a dog or a cat or a canary, but you got a 12-bedroom house and it's just the two of you. That's it. You know, or kind of bring it down a little bit to say our neck of the woods. And I'm being silly, but it's really some of us. I had to deal with, you know, trying to figure out when am I going to have toilet paper, to wipe my behind with, because, when I was growing up, we ain't never have any toilet paper, or we had to go to the store, because somebody just used the last one and we got to run around the corner to the corner store. So when we got older, we was like, I ain't never having to deal with that again. So we buy up, all the toilet paper, or we buy up all the paper towels, and stuff like that. Or even make it, or take it another way, away from hoarding, we'll say, okay, I'm never being late on my rent. I'm never being late on my mortgage. I'm never having the bill collector to call my house, all these types of things, because I know what it was like then at that particular point in time in my life. So I don't want to have to deal with that again, because it'll bring back bad memories, and so I'm going to make sure, all right, that I have more than enough. But when the rubber meets the road, for some of us, we have too much. We have way too much. Go out there, and you have 15 dresses already, or you got 15 suits, and then next thing you know, or you got enough suits where you can, wear one every Sunday, for like 3 months in a row, 4 months in a row, before you have to go back and wear the first one over again. And the same thing with, with the clothes, same type of thing. But the thing about it is like we've already alluded to, is sometimes it goes back to our childhood, our upbringing, what we didn't have, what we did have, all right? And it causes us, all right, to hold on to, all right, whatever we can get, all right? Because even when you talk about food, you have some people that'll sit there and eat their food like this, because they always had somebody that's trying to reach into their plate. Sometimes when a husband and a wife, let me go back to Sunday, when a husband and a wife go out to dinner, she's sitting up there taking a fork and eating off of your plate, knowing good and well, she wanted what you had, all right, and she wanted to order it, but she didn't order it. So she knew that you was going to order it. So she's like, I'll just wait till he gets what he going to get, and I'll just eat off of his plate, that type of thing, so we have to look at it, is that we can't continue to hoard and hold on to, all right, everything. And even as Minister Lionel said, we have to let some of these things go. All right, we got to let some of these things go. If we don't let these things go, how do you expect more to come into us? Or how do you expect to grow? Because even when you think about it as a seed, all right, a seed, in order for that seed to grow, it has to crack the shell. It has to crack the shell, and it has to start growing. And that growing process is only going to happen if there is a cracking of the shell. If there is a time when stuff is pushed to the side, stuff is moved to the side, things are gotten away or put away. Anyone else have anything to add or say before I move on to the next question? A thought that came to mind. All right. So, Minister Smith, you started to allude to this next question somewhat, but the next question is, why can't we see how to repurpose something? Let me ask that again to get your brains really thinking. Why can't we see how to repurpose something? Somebody come off a mute and answer that question.
Some people have lack of vision. You got to have a vision to execute it.
Oh, they have lack of vision.
Yeah.
So in having lack of vision, that means they don't have what in place?
I would say a plan. They don't have a plan because
you
gotta have.
There you go.
All right, now I'm on a roll. Let's go.
There you go. There you go. That's exactly it. Lack of vision means lack of plan. Lack of plan meaning lack of planning. All right. It all works together. So let's continue. Somebody else, come off of mute. Why can't we see how to repurpose something? It was already established. Lack of vision, lack of planning. Somebody else, come on. Could it be that you have blinders?
Well,
Could
in a
it be that you
different
have
way that,
selective sight?
well, in a different way that Sister Treese put it, I would say lack of creativity. Some of us are straightforward. Some of us see everything in black and white, and we don't know how to bend. So we're not creative with things can be used in multiple ways. We only know that one way, so we stick to that one way. We won't budge. We won't move. We won't take no type of advice. Nothing that nobody else can say is going to take us off of the path that we feel that we know. We just stay on the straight and narrow.
All right. Someone else? Why can't we see how to repurpose something?
I agree,
Some
because
people are
sometimes
just
we're
so.
only able to, oh, go ahead, Deaconess Shula.
Oh, I just wanted to say sometimes we so selfish, we just rather throw it away to let somebody else have it. We don't want anybody, we just thinking about ourselves and not if somebody else could use it. So we just too selfish to see the next person or see the need.
Oh, that's good. That's
Thank
good.
you.
That's good. Too selfish to let somebody else use it. If I can't have it, nobody can have it. All right. Minister Smith?
In regards to seeing how to repurpose something, like Minister Lionel said in Latrice, we only see it through one lens. We can't think of it outside the box. So we see it for what it is and that only, and are unable to see it being used in a different way.
Because if you think about it, going to the Monmouth Mall, there's multiple ways to get to the Monmouth Mall. All right. There's multiple ways. If you think about, some of our homes, there's multiple ways to get to our home, but we get so locked into, all right. And if, like Minister Lionel said, if we try to go another way, we end up getting confused. Let me see. Brother Isham put online, he said, some may not want to repurpose, but always get or buy what they want. Sister Doris put on there, this is good. This is a good one. No imagination. All right. Deacon Williams put on there, no creativity. No creativity. Because we got to realize some people just can't see.
And you know what, too, Pastor, you fight when you don't understand.
Ooh.
So if somebody can see it a different way and you don't understand where they're going, you will fight the repurpose when it's there to really bring purpose to you, but you can't see it, so you don't understand it, so you fight against it.
Yes, that is good. Fighting against it. All right, fighting against the change. Fighting against the change, because we all know how many years, all right, and how many different changes have happened here at the Tabernacle over the years. That's why I will continue to nod my hat or tip my hat to Deacon Butterworth, even though they're not here. Deacon Butterworth, Sister Alexander, Sister Jones, Sister King, a lot of them, they didn't understand the changes that was going on, but they still went on ahead with the change. They may have talked about it, and behind closed doors, but you know what? They lined up with it. It was like, I don't get it, but I'm going to go ahead and get with it at some particular point in time. I'm going to still go ahead and do what is necessary, because you know what? It's something new. It's something fresh. I don't understand it, but I'm still going to go ahead and get with it. I'm not going to go against it. I'm not going to push against it. I'm just going to fall right in line. And for too many of us, that's what we won't do, even if we can't see it. That's why we said, I believe last week, it said, write the vision and make it plain. But some of us, no matter how plain the visionary makes the vision, we still won't grab it and run with it. Because you also have to look at it another way. We are not the one that came up with the vision, so we won't even do anything to help bring the vision to pass. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. You can show me a true leader that when they are not leading, they put as much energy into being a follower or being a helper as if they were being a leader. That is a true leader, because you have some that say, if I'm not in charge, I'm not giving as much energy, I'm not putting out as much help. That's all there is to it. If I can't see it, I'm not helping with it. All right, somebody else, because I'm, If somebody else has something they want to say about it.
Yeah, as we were
Yes,
just talking
Pastor.
about change. Oh, go ahead, Minister Teal.
Thank you. As a seamstress, and I see a lot of things, and so you see it. I can't create anything till I see it. If you ask me to make you a skirt, that's fine. I can make the skirt, but I need to see it. My daughter takes men's shirts, for example. She tears up everything, but she'll take a men's shirt and cut it up and make her a dress, adding multiple shirts. Or she'll take jeans and strip them down. We paying all this money for cut jeans. She's been cutting them up. And so she'll add different materials and different things. So that's repurposing. She repurposes everything. She might wear it today as a coat. Tomorrow it might be a shirt, the same thing. Or she added to the bottom of the jeans. So you have to be able to see things a different way.
Yeah, because I was gonna after I say this, Smith, you can come off of mute, because I was gonna say there was a tenant in the building that I worked in. She used to be there. Her name was Lenore Carter. All right. She used to take sweaters, old sweaters that we had, and make hats out of the sweaters, Scullies. All right, Scully hats out of them. She was so good as a seamstress that when we used to have Steinbachs over at the CV Square Mall back in the day, she could go into Steinbach's and look at a dress and photographically take a picture of it in her mind, and then go back home without a pattern or anything else, recreate the same exact dress that she just saw. All right, sorry, go ahead, Minister Smith.
Just when you were talking about change and fighting the change, I was just thinking about even when God takes us from one place and moves us to another, when we fight against that because we are unsure of where he's taking us and not allowing him to have repurpose in our life to move us to a new place. So I was just thinking about that when we we're talking about change.
Yes. And also, before somebody else, if somebody else has something to want to say, Sister Kathy Kelly, she said on YouTube, some of us don't know how to take direction. Some of us don't know how to take direction. Some of us, and adding to it, some of us don't know how to take instruction. All right. But let me even put another piece in there. Some of us don't know how to take correction. All right. Oh, let me add another piece to it. Some of us don't know how to take encouragement.
Yes.
That's a big one right there. Because sometimes with that, we sit up there and think that there's something connected to it. Oh, not even encouragement, but some don't even know how to take a compliment. Because sometimes we think, and it goes back to our past, sometimes we think that somebody wants something from us, and that's not necessarily the case. I heard somebody was off of mute.
It was me. I said some people know how to accept help.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That's true. Because sometimes when you're repurposing something, it's not only you, all right, that see it, but a good leader can paint a panoramic picture so that even the youngest or the oldest and everybody in between can get a good understanding of where we're going, what we're heading. They may not grasp all of it, but they can articulate in a particular way so that, oh my gosh, I can really grasp that. Oh, I can really see it. Oh, I can really move with it. Oh, I can really. And that's because they're able to articulate it. And they may not be able to, all right, say everything, but they can give bits and pieces of it. So then people can grab and use, all right, and say, okay, well, I can use this, or I can do this, or I have this talent, I can help here, or I have that talent, I can help there, or I can repurpose, this here and repurpose that there, all those types of things. But you got to be able to, all right, be able to speak it and be able to articulate it so that others can understand what you are saying. Anyone else? All right. Because the next question that I have is this. Why is it, and it still deals with the same thing, why is it so hard to see the value? Why is it so hard to see the value? And you're talking about whether you talk about the physical or you talk about the spiritual, whether you talk about the person or you talk about, something else. Why is it so hard to see the value? Anyone want to take a stab at it?
Sometimes it's hard to see because of what we've been through as a child, as a preteen, young adult. But it seems like in the natural and the spiritual side, I'm going to speak on both. It seems like you would try to take from yourself by thinking that you're not worthy to sit at the head table when you have it for you. So not to think about what happened in the past or what we might have done or might have been done to us, and what is for us.
All right, that's good. That's good. Because the question is, why is it so hard to see the value? Whether it's the value in yourself or it's the value in, the value of the church that you attend, or the value of the person that's sitting right next to you, or the value of a member of the church. Just expand it. Why is it so hard to see the value?
I'll say that the value is in the beholder. A lot of times we don't realize that us as individuals have two types of value. We have the value that we put on ourselves, whether it's good or bad, and we have the value that people put on us, whether it's good or bad. Those two types of values will follow you throughout your life. You can have high value in yourself, but everybody around you have low value. That's just something that we just have to deal with. So a lot of times it's hard to see the value of something because you put no value in it. You put no value into serving God. You put no value into going to church. You put no value in studying. You just put no value. So there is not going to be any value because you don't put any value in it. And you have to figure out somewhere in your past what has happened to cause you to value things so little. And until you get to that part, you would never begin to break the chains of low value on certain things. Some stuff we are not realistic with, but realistically, somewhere something has stopped us from valuing things. And we have to go back and find it and fix it so that we can begin to value things properly and where it should be valued.
Yeah. Someone else. Could it be that we don't want to see the value? Because we don't really want to see the value of it? Or if not that, like Minister Lionel said, you don't have any value, you don't see the value in yourself. So how would we expect to see the value in others? The value in, the value of ministry, because you look at it, like I said, before I really, go too far afield, is anyone else? Why is it so hard to see the value? Okay. Because one of the things that we have to realize is our first point on tonight is this. Are you using that? That's the question. That's one of the questions that we have to ask. With all of this that we have talked about already, with the questions that we have asked, it's really leading up to, are you using that? And before I really delve into that point, let me put Deacon Williams put in here, not clear in your mind. Sister Kathy Kelly said, some don't want to see someone advance above them. They want to keep the person down. All right. So they don't want them to flourish. Because the one thing that we have to really realize with the questions that we ask is this: are you using that? That's why we ask. Why can't we see, all right, the value in it? That's why we ask, why can't we repurpose something? Also, that's why we ask, is there a good reason for us holding on to something? Because all of this is built around this question: are you using that? Because if you look at the lesson of what we are talking about, one man got 5 talents, and he took those 5 talents and multiplied it and made 10 out of the 5. He had a plan in place to increase what he already had. So he was like, I'm going to take this 5 and I'm going to turn it into 10. And the other one that had 2, he was like, I'm going to turn that into 4. And, so they took what they had and they worked it. All right. Have you ever had a time, and I know I'm guilty of this, but have you ever had a time where somebody walks into your house and they see possibilities, but you never seen the possibilities that they see? Have you ever had a time when somebody walks into your house and see possibilities, but you can't see the possibilities? And they turn around and they'll tell you, oh, you could do this. Oh, you could do that. You can move this. You can move that. Oh, I see how you can do, all this stuff. And you're just sitting up there like, I never thought of that. Reason why sometimes is because it's not because you lack the vision, but it's because you are so used to where you are at that you have neglected what you have and you don't see the value in it. You don't see the value in it. Give you a case in point. One of the greatest undercover makeovers I ever made or ever did was for Sister Mother Jones when she was living over in Asbury. Man, they sent her home. They took her out for the whole day. They got the carpet, and I painted the room, the main room she sat in. I painted all the walls, all this other stuff, put down the carpet. And then when she came back home, I had rearranged the whole room. And it was totally different. It was nowhere near the same. That little old short lady started crying. She started laughing, all this other stuff. She was like, I never knew this room could look like this. And I never knew I had this much room in this room. And all I did was just take everything that was in that room and just move it around. But she couldn't see how to move around everything that was in the room because that's where she already had it set. But then to put a new coat of paint and to put a new carpet down, even move the TV to another spot and moved her favorite chair to another spot, all of that stuff. And she's like, oh my goodness, I couldn't believe it. It's because sometimes we get so used to stuff being the way that it is that we can't see the real value in it, or besides that, we can't see how it can be changed or how it can be repurposed. All right, because if you look at it in verse 26, it says in the same chapter, it says, his Lord answered and said unto him, meaning he was talking to the one, because there was 3 men. One, he gave 1 talent, another he gave 2 talents, and another one he gave 5. The one that he gave 5 talents to changed that or multiplied it and made it into 10. The one that he gave 2, he turned around and made that into 4. The one that he gave 1 to, he went and buried it. Didn't do anything with the talent. So let's fill in and read the rest of it. Verse 26. And it says, his Lord answered and said unto him, thou wicked and slothful servant. He was talking to the one that had 1 talent. All right. Thou knewest that I reap where I sowed not, and gathereth where I have strawed. All right. Verse 28. So to make matters worse, or to add insult to injury, in verse 28, it states this: take therefore the talent from him and give it unto him that hath 10 talents. What are you saying? I'm saying this. The master that gave him the 1 talent took that 1 talent from him and gave it to somebody else that was going to use the talent. And so the one that had 5 that turned it into 10, by the end of the day, he had 11. And the one that had 1 had none. Why? Because as it stated, it said, thou wicked and slothful servant. Let me go back to something that I've said before. God will not use somebody that's not already at work. God always uses somebody or somebodies that's already working. He's not using anybody that's just sitting there, sitting back doing much of nothing. Oh, let Mikey do it. No, he's not using them. He's not anointing them. He's not appointing them. He's not elevating them. They're just sitting back on their do nothing and doing nothing. But the one that's busy about God's business, that's busy about building up the kingdom of God, that's the one that God uses. That's the one that God blesses. That's the one that God anoints. That's the one that God empowers, because he knows and he trusts that, listen, I put this in them. They're going to end up taking it and they're going to run with it. Because to help out a leader, see, you can help a true leader out by sitting up there doing what that leader has told you to do or asked you to do, and then go above and beyond. And on top of that, that leader does not have to come back to you, all right, to find out what's going on, because you're already reporting to him or her. That's how God ends up blessing. That's how God ends up moving, because you're taking what you have and you are moving with it. You're not just sitting still. You're not just doing nothing. Every single time you look at it, the disciples, they was out there fishing. David, he was out there tending sheep. Every single one, everybody in the Bible was already doing something. Every single leader, they was all doing something. And God just took that and he just ran with it. And he's like, okay, I see you working. I see what you're working with. I see what you're doing. You putting in that work. Even, oh God, even think about it. You take it to sports. Those that work the hardest in the off season shows, all right, that they've been working in the off season when the season starts. Because all of a sudden they look at them as like, hold up, wait a minute. How are you shooting, 98% from free throws? Because after the game is over with, I'm still going back in the gym after playing 4 quarters, and I'm going and I'm shooting 100 free throws. I'm going and shooting, 100 3-point shots. I'm going, listen, that's why some, you got to think about, that's why some end up losing the weight that they have, and they end up becoming more athletic, all right, or slim and trim, because they go above and beyond. And they put in the work. They put in the work. And so you got to realize God is like, listen, I'm going to use those who are working. I'm going to use those who are working. And those who have been sitting by the way, and some of those that have been sitting in the way, you better get out of the way, because those who I'm anointing and those who I'm appointing, they're going to be blowing past you. And for you, don't get upset because they end up blowing past you and going above and beyond. Praise them, lift them up. Don't get so sedity, don't get so bougie that it all stops with you. No, baby, it all stopped with you because you stopped doing. But you're not the end all to everything. God has another ram in the bush. And so when we don't use, all right, what God has given us, then all of a sudden God is like, I find another one. There's somebody else. There's always somebody else. There's always somebody else that's willing to yield unto me, that's willing to, do what I have called. Do what I've called. And we sit back and we're just like, okay, all right. I see, you know, and then next thing you know, sometimes, you know, when God starts to use us, we become a little hesitant about it. But God has to reinforce to us. And it's like, listen, you've been praying, you've been fasting, you've been studying the word, you've been getting in the word, you've been allowing the word to get in you, you've been volunteering, you've been going above and beyond. So I'm going to bless you, all right, because of the work that you have been doing. And I'm going to give you, all right, because of the work that you haven't been doing. Just because you sitting up there putting ministry first, you're sitting up there using the gifts and the talents that I have given you. And so in that, I'm going to elevate you. I'm going to empower you. You're going to come out of nowhere and everybody's going to look at you and say, where did you come from? And you're going to be like, I don't know where I came from, the backside of the desert. I was out there watching, tending my daddy's sheep. I came from the interior, or I came from the stomach of a large fish. I came from the fiery furnace. I came from prison. I came from the stripper pole. I came from the corner. I came from being out there pimping and hustling. I came from, you know, that's where I came from. And the people will look at you and be like, wow, I ain't know all of that was up in there. I didn't know all of that was up in there. Because you have to look at it. Sometimes people will take the hand that we are dealt and they can win with that hand. Because we're losing with that hand, but they'll take the same exact hand and they'll end up smashing it. They'll end up winning. They'll end up sitting up there and be like, yo, how in the world did you do that? How in the world, what happened? Oh my gosh, I can't believe. It's like, yep. It's the reason why is because I took what you had and I repurposed it. I repurposed it. It was intended for this, but then I ended up being able to see what it can be used for, and I used it for that. And so God ended up blessing me and showing me what I can do with this. Because as we remember, listen, the Lord takes a little bit and becomes much when you place it in the hands of God. When you put it in his hands, he's going to take and use it, and it's going to multiply beyond what we can actually think. But we have to take the time out and put it in his hands. And we have to take and use what he has given us and say, Lord, show us how to use it, how to apply it, all right, and put it in his hands, and he'll put it back in our hands, and we'll be used by him. And he will bless us, and he will anoint us. Because you have to look at it in another way, because even those who have talent and or gifts, space must be created. Space must be created for them to use that talent or use that gift. But let me put a proviso in there. That person has to understand that there is a correction, instruction, all right, that has to go along with that. Because you're not perfect at it, you're being perfected, but you're not perfect at it. So you got to realize, and even for those that are watching from the outside, that yes, there are going to be mistakes made. Because even going back to something that we're going to look at later on, as a leader, the space that you create, is it a space of, stability? Is it a place of learning? Or is it a place of chaos? Is it a place of, sheltering or putting down, or any of those? What type of place, what type of environment are you creating? Are you allowing the person to be able to grow and to flourish? And even let me bring it back, like I said before, are you a person that's willing, all right, or is able to be corrected and don't mind being corrected? Or just because you have a talent or you have multiple talents, you think that you have arrived. No. Let's pull it back. Pull it back. Don't get too bougie. Don't get too grand, where you think that it's all about you. Just because you laid hands, like I've stated on many occasions, just because you laid hands on somebody one time and they fell out under the anointing of God, that does not make you a prophet, a prophetess, That does not make you a bishop. That does not make you an apostle. That does not make you a cardinal. That does not make you anything. Because if you can't be a servant, then you can't really be anything else in the house of the Lord, because you are a servant first. Now, let me continue. Because each one is given a talent, but it's up to the person to do something with that talent. It's up to the person to create. It's up to that person to cultivate. It's up to the people around them to create a space for them to grow and expand, to be able to do that. But let me put it in another way. The flip side of it is some people have too many talents. All right. Some people have too many interests. Some people have too many gifts. And let me put this in there. And you have not become prolific at any one gift. You have not become good or efficient or solid at any one gift. You have actually grabbed so much and worked so many different areas that you have spread yourself thin. And so now you haven't been able to, or you're not able to work that one gift, that two gifts, that three gifts, all right, four gifts or whatever, so that it can be fruitful. You're sitting up there trying to do all of this. And it's like, no, take the time out to become good at and prolific at one particular, two particular, three particular gifts, four gifts, before you start trying to add on 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's how you end up becoming a hoarder. And you become full of all of this, but you're no good at any of this. Now, does anyone have anything that they want to add before I move on and continue on? A thought that may have come to mind.
Yeah, I have a thought.
All right.
Because I kind of like the way that this story is written, and then trying to understand what the story was trying to perceive to us. But when you look at the value, when you were saying about the value, have value, you look at these three servants, each one of them valued what their master gave them at a different level. The first two servants valued that their master gave them something, and they went out and worked hard to increase that value. The third servant had value in what his master gave him, but he was fearful in losing what his master gave him. So he thought that to him, it would be wise if he didn't lose it and just gave it back to the master. But that's not what the master gave it to him for. And like Pastor was saying about how the Lord will take away a gift if we're not working the gift, because he gave us the gift to build his kingdom. So if you're not using the gift, he will take it from you, and he will end up giving it to somebody else. But then I find myself asking, why did he take the one man's talent and gave it to the man who had 10 talents? Why didn't he give it to the man who had 4 talents? And as Pastor had just said, the jack of all trades will ruler of none. Maybe the man with 4 talents didn't have the capacity to work 5 talents at one particular time. So if the master would have given it to him, the master knew he would have given him too much. So God never gives us more than we can handle. But we have to know that we can handle it, and we have to know that we can handle it in his power, and we have to work it inside his power, and don't try to go past the grace that God gave us to work.
Yes. Someone else. Okay. Because like you said, you know, the master knows us. He knows what we're able to handle. But besides that, even as a leader, you have to know what you're able to handle. And that's why, you know, sometimes you have to be able to delegate, and don't be afraid to delegate. All right. But when you delegate to people that you know can get the job done. All right. Just don't delegate it to them because they are warm body. All right. Let them prove themselves to be faithful. All right. Let them prove themselves to be consistent. All right. Just don't throw it to Johnny come lately. Go back to old school, like they say, old school Baptist church, because you got a man that's in the church and he's warm and he's breathing. They all of a sudden make him a deacon. And knowing good and well, he don't need to be nobody deacon because he ain't ready, willing, or able to serve anybody. He's not even willing to serve himself. And besides that, he's not even living correctly. And he's not even trying to live correctly. So we can't sit up there and just, no. And that's the mistake that we have made. So even as a leader, you got to know those who are around you. You got to watch them. You got to watch them over a period of time before, all right, you allow them to actually, before you put any type of responsibility on them. Are you faithful? Do you come? Let me even put it, do you come, all right, to church? Are you at church on time? All right. Or do you come into service? Or are you always a virtual member? All right. All these little things. Are you on the prayer line? Are you on Bible study? Do you comment on Bible study? Do you comment? I mean, all of these types of things. Is this the type of stuff that God looks at? This is the type of stuff that leaders look at. All right. And we gauge that, all right, as to how faithful and dedicated you are. Because I can tell you in a minute, and we all know, all right, if it's something that we want to do, we gonna do it. All right. Whatever we want to do, if it's something that we want to do, we gonna do it. And it ain't no problem. We gonna get it done. But when it comes to other things in ministry, other things in church, we'll kind of take a back seat. We'll kind of, weigh and consider, that type of thing. But listen, let me tell you something. What will end up happening is just like when churches had to be shut down and everything had to go virtual, all right, or everybody had to be on prayer lines. We got to see then who really valued being in the house of the Lord. That's what we really got a chance to see. Because once the church was open to limited capacity, you had people that's like, listen, I'm sorry, I got to get to the house of the Lord. But for others, it was like, let me tell you something. Don't wait till you don't have it. Don't wait till you don't have it to then appreciate the value of it. Don't wait till then. Don't wait till then. Because for too many of us, we wait till we don't have whatever it is. And that's when we actually like, oh man, I actually miss it. Oh man, I actually could have used. No, value it while you have it. Appreciate it while you have it. Because once it's gone, it's gone. And you can imagine the man with the one talent was like, hey, I had this one talent. I ain't do nothing with it. I just hid it. And now when the master come back, now he done took it from me and gave it to somebody else. It's like, oh, dang. I wish I had it now. But why wait till then? Why wait till then? Appreciate what you have now. Because there's a bunch of pieces that's out there. And there's a bunch of pieces that we need to sit up there and look at. But we got to pick up those pieces of that puzzle, of that mosaic, and create a masterpiece. Ask God to open up our eyes so that we can see, all right, the whole picture, even though it's all separated. Because, yeah, there's a picture there. but you just got to see what you can't see. And you got to see the value in it. You got to see how to repurpose it. But if you can't open up your eyes to see it, then you got to ask the Lord, like, Lord, help me, help me, help me, help me. So then I can see, I can understand it. I'll be able to cut out the pattern. I'll be able to, repurpose the shirt, repurpose the pants, repurpose the jacket. God, let me get to the place where you can repurpose me, recreate me. All right. Use me for another part of ministry. Do it in me. Got to be willing. Got to be willing. Got to be willing. Now, does anyone else have anything else that they want to say? Anything else that came out to them? Because if not, I'm done for the night. I'm done for the night. All right. So my name is Pastor Lamont Brown. I'm the pastor of Faith Baptist Tabernacle here in Asbury Park, New Jersey, where we are evangelizing to the family while building disciples. I just want to remind you of this one thing. It's already done. You just got to catch up to it. Peace.